Hey guys, Emily Muccianti here with a video talking about 5 common mistakes that our administrators, although well-intentioned, sometimes make when it comes to reading intervention. Now, if you're new to my channel, I hope you like and subscribe so that you don't miss anything, because I am here to talk about all things intervention. This is my jam. We're talking almost 30 years in the biz, and I want to make sure that schools everywhere are utilizing their resources efficiently, their personnel efficiently, so that we can make the most impact on our struggling readers. So that being said, are you ready to hear the 5 common mistakes that our administrators make when dealing with reading intervention? Let me say this first. I love my administrators. I've had amazing administrators that I have worked with over the years. And I've been really fortunate that the vast majority of them have really listened and let me kind of guide to create some pretty stellar intervention programs. So that being said, this is not an admin hating video at all. I love you all because we're all in the same boat to make sure that our students are learning and learning well. And that's what we're going to try to work on today. So the first thing that our administrators may be asking of us or our classroom teachers is they expect intervention to happen in the classroom by the classroom teacher. Now, this is really a common mistake. Our classroom teachers have so much on their plate. And let's remember that predominantly their number one job is to make sure that they are teaching grade level standards to their class. That is their expertise. That is where their time should be spent. Now, of course, they're also doing some differentiation and some scaffolding to make sure that those standards are easily accessible. But we have some kids that are struggling so much and require so much of the resource of the teacher that there's just not enough time. And to put that on their plate is just asking too much. So let's let our classroom teachers do what they do best, focus on the standards, and let's work on developing an intervention program that can really do the heavy lifting for these kids and make some serious gains. Now, the second common error that our admin tend to do when it comes to reading intervention is that they have an intervention team that is too small. So you may have a reading specialist on campus, or you may have a reading interventionist on campus, and that one person is supposed to service all of your students. Now, depending on the size of your school, even in small schools that I've been, that's almost impossible. So if we truly want to make an impact on those kids that are struggling and not let any of them fall through the cracks, then we have to provide our interventions with adequate personnel. And the best way to do this, in my opinion, is to have one lead teacher that is your interventionist. It may be a reading specialist, it may be a well-trained classroom teacher with a passion for literacy, but that person is the lead on in your intervention program. And then depending on the size of your school, you may have anywhere from 2 to 5 paraprofessionals underneath that lead teacher that will help to bring through the instruction and help promote and complete the assessment and progress monitoring that needs to be done. What's nice about utilizing paraprofessionals is it does keep the bottom line of the money, the budget for your intervention, kind of, down low, rather than having multiple credentialed teachers. You don't need to have multiple credentialed teachers, in my opinion. You can do this with well-trained paraprofessionals and a lead teacher who is taking care of all of that. So that leads me to the third common mistake that admin sometimes make whenever they're dealing with intervention. And that is that you may not be providing enough resources and training to your intervention teams. Now, your reading teacher should be going to conferences, should be participating in training, getting additional certificates, being Orton-Gillingham trained or letters trained, or any of those other, specific trainings related to word decoding, because that's a huge area that we have to deal with. This is not a one and done, okay? So ongoing training is really important, but what sometimes is missed is that our paraprofessionals also need to be trained. Now, if you can, send them to the same trainings that your reading teacher is going to, or provide your reading teacher enough time to come back, disseminate all of that information, and adequately train his or her team so that they are all on the same page. This is huge. So training, as far as one of the lack of resources that we may be missing. Another area in this same mistake of not providing enough resources is curricula. There should be a wide, vast variety of supplemental materials that your intervention team can pull from in order to match the skill deficit with the proper curricula. I get super leery and really concerned about programs that utilize one intervention kit. I've seen it. It is just not the way to go. Kids in intervention have such a vast variety of needs that there is never going to be a one size fits all. So if all you have in your intervention programs are these grade level kits, you've got to rethink your approach. Okay, this is not going to hit the mark. It is not going to make substantial gains. You might see some surface level gains, but it's just not the way to go. So let's put some time, some money into adequately training your teams and providing enough resources so that those things that they need are at their fingertips for all of those specifics that we tend to deal with, whether it's phonemic awareness, fluency, phonics, vocabulary, comprehension. We need a lot of different things. There is no one size fits all. Okay. The fourth mistake that our well-intended administrators may be making is you don't see a school-wide vision for intervention. If you're lucky enough, first of all, to have an intervention at your site, it may be kind of off in a room. Your kids hopefully are walking to intervention, which I think is by far the best way rather than a push-in model. But what they're not seeing is how we can utilize the entire school staff to really make sure that every single student on campus is receiving what they need at their level for a consistent amount of time every single day. There's something called a deployment model, platooning model, walk-to model. It's all the same stuff, where each grade level is going to deploy for 30 minutes, 30 to 45. I've always done 30. I found that that's enough time, 30 minutes every single day. When your students are going to the intervention programs, you've got maybe, 10% of your kids going there. This may also be the same time that your resource students are receiving their resource minutes. But then the other classroom teachers are deploying the rest of the students based on screening assessment. If you haven't seen my universal screening video, you might want to go back and check that one. But based on the universal screening information, we are grouping these students so that there is built-in differentiation every single day. It's amazing. Your reading teacher should be involved in training your classroom teachers. We should be involved in sharing the data that is collected so the classroom teachers know what all of this is about. They have to know where their kids are and what they can do to help move those needles. Consider a school-wide approach. It is by far the most effective way to really make school-wide gains, not just for your intervention kids, but honestly, all of your kids. And then the fifth common mistake that our administrators sometimes make is you're not involving your reading teachers or interventionists in your leadership circles. Okay, most schools have leadership teams. Your reading teacher needs to be there with the admin and all of your lead teachers at each grade level. School-wide decisions really need to be a part of this. Something that I have always advocated for is that your reading interventionist may be the person who is facilitating all of your student study teams. This is because those typically the majority of your kids that are going to be going through the SST process need intervention. Not always, but most of the time. And so having your reading teacher involved in that process or facilitating that process is by far the most efficient, again, use of your time. Reading teachers should also be at IEP meetings. They should be a part of that SPED team. As you have kids that have gone through intervention and maybe intervention isn't enough for that student, and now you're looking at going through the IEP process, you need your reading teacher involved. The data that they can collect is so valuable, and giving them a seat at the table is super important. So make sure that you're considering bringing your reading teachers into your leadership teams. Okay, so there you have it. Those are the 5 common mistakes that our wonderful, well-intentioned administrators make. Hopefully we can help to expand the efficiency and the reach of our intervention program so that you are actually servicing over 100 students in some cases every single day. It can be done. I've done it. I would love to hear your comments. I would love to hear where your schools are at. If you need some guidance or some advice or support, or you just want to bounce an idea off of me, please reach out, email me at readingdiva06@gmail.com. And I would love to extend this conversation with you. So remember, like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye now. Mwah.